With each passing day of the Israel-Hamas war, it seems the world learns of more horror and more heartbreak. And last night was no different. And a warning to our viewers, the footage you're about to see is graphic. In the city of Rafah, NBC News captured video of a newborn baby. Her birth, nothing short of a miracle. Why? Because this baby was delivered from her dead mother's womb. The mother, who was 7 months pregnant, her husband, and their 3-year-old toddler were all killed in an Israeli airstrike that also killed 22 people, 18 of them children, according to the health officials in Gaza. A child born into a world surrounded by death, now already an orphan. And while the theater of horror that has become Gaza is live streamed on our screens nonstop 24/7, this is what our Congress thinks is the best move.
On this vote, the yeas are 366 and the nays are 58. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
That was the House of Representatives on Capitol Hill yesterday after passing a $95 billion aid package with no restrictions for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. The long-awaited bill, which saw broad bipartisan support, is now headed to the Senate for a vote. Roughly $26 billion is allocated for Israel, and that includes money for the Israeli military and all of its advanced weapons systems, despite the growing horrors that the world is witnessing. You see, there is a twisted and troubling logic that is at play here. American taxpayer dollars are being spent all over this war. Israel is using American-made fighter planes to drop American-made bombs on the Palestinian people, who are in turn receiving U.S. aid paid for by American tax dollars to stay alive. In fact, the United States has been Israel's principal arms supporter, diplomatic protector, and security umbrella since the country's inception in 1948. But what makes Congress's recent aid package so troubling is that it comes at a time where there are growing concerns about where and how that money is being used by the Israeli government and its military against the Palestinian people. So bad are these alleged Israeli violations that Axios first reported that 3 U.S. officials with knowledge say Secretary of State Antony Blinken is expected to announce sanctions against one of Israel's most notorious military units because of its conduct and human rights violations in the occupied West Bank. NBC News has not yet independently confirmed this reporting. Now, you would think that Israel, the benefactor of such U.S. largesse, would be cooperative in making sure its military conduct is in compliance with our laws. Instead, the reaction of Israeli officials has been to shun American concerns. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that sanctions against Israel's military would be, quote, a moral low. And then he went on to say that his government would act by all means against any such move. Israel's president has warned the U.S. not to interfere in its internal affairs. And today, Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, said that he has called Secretary of State Antony Blinken and U.S. Ambassador Jack Lew to try to prevent these U.S. sanctions from going forward. Look, there's nothing wrong with Israeli officials telling Americans to bug off, but you can't take our weapons and our tax dollars and work to undermine our security interests and our policies. I mean, for weeks, the U.S. has openly warned Israel against invading Rafah. So far, Israel has rejected those calls and has insisted it will go ahead with a Rafah operation despite these U.S. concerns. And just this week, amidst the heightened tensions between the two countries, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich is pushing to start the legalization process for 68 settlement outposts in the occupied West Bank. In other words, he is pushing to expand these illegal settlements. Now, this would be one of the most dramatic expansions for the settlement movement in decades, according to Israel's Channel 12 News, which reported this last night. Settlements undercut one of our own government's very own efforts at a two-state solution. The bottom line is this: American dollars are funding a war that is going against the United States' own strategic interests. It's one that President Biden and his administration are going to have to answer for. As Nicholas Kristof writes in the New York Times this week, Gaza has become the albatross around Biden's neck. It is his war, not just Benjamin Netanyahu's. It will be part of his legacy, an element of his obituary.